Okay, this week, the name on the marquee has got to be Alexa Grasso, who this past weekend at the UFC Apex UFC Fight Night in the women's flyweight division defeated Viviane Araujo by a unanimous decision. The scorecards read 50-45, 49-46, and 49-46. Another big win for Grasso. She keeps moving up in the women's flyweight rankings. Mark, let me throw it over to you first. What were your takeaways from Grasso's nice win this weekend?
Yeah, it was a great win for her. It wasn't the most exciting fight we've ever seen, but it was competitive throughout. I do think she was just edging it for the most part. It wasn't necessarily the performance that she needed to grab a title shot. So I'm guessing she's going to need at least one more here, but it does keep her right there. Obviously, it's a big win either way. I thought that she was landing cleaner than Araujo all fight. Her shots seemed to have more visible impact than Araujo's did, which helped. Like, Grasso was more or less walking through shots, whereas Araujo was, like, getting her head snapped back. And I feel like the judges were seeing that. I loved seeing the way Grasso blended her levels or the heights of her attacks to keep Araujo thinking. There was a lot, like at the belt line, at the midsection, obviously back up to the head. I liked seeing that. She showed great hips when she needed to, which was obviously a key in this matchup. But the one thing I will say is Araujo, I think, has become much more comfortable striking. I think you could see that in this fight. You know, she, like I said, she was losing the striking with Grasso, but not like badly. You know, she was in it. But I think her becoming more comfortable in the striking has actually backfired for her a bit, because that doggedness and relentlessness that she has in chasing takedowns and dragging the fight down in any which way was not there. And a lot of times that comes for her because she's getting cracked and she's like, all right, I need this thing on the mat. And in this fight, she wasn't really getting like hurt so bad on the feet, and she was kind of in it. And I feel like she almost lost that. Like, she looked for the takedown now and again, but for the most part, I think she kind of felt like, you know, I'm okay here. Like, I might be able to make this work. And while she was, you know, okay, I don't think that feeling actually served her well, because she needed that doggedness for the takedown. She did need this thing down. And I think maybe she wasn't quite feeling that the way she has in the past, because she certainly was not pushing for takedowns and kind of chaining shots together and reshooting the way that she normally does. I don't think she felt that same urgency. And because of that, she ended up engaging in a mostly striking fight where she got edged out most of the time. So Grasso keeps it moving. I don't mean to focus more so on Araujo for the negative. Grasso obviously fought a great fight. She did exactly what she had to do. When the takedowns did come, she defended them well, and she leaned on her boxing, which we know is her bread and butter. So she keeps it moving, and we'll see who she stands across from next.
Omar, after Grasso dropped a majority decision to Carla Esparza in 2019, she is now on a 4-fight win streak in the octagon. So what do you think this win, where does this win put her in terms of her title shot aspirations? What were your impressions of her win?
I'm a big fan of Grasso. I had a lot of takeaways from that fight personally. I actually think she did a lot better than even I thought she was going to do. In my opinion, she won 4 out of those 5 rounds. I would even argue 5 out of the 5, but I would definitely give, I think it was round 4 to Araujo. They were competitive rounds. I thought they were clear for Grasso as far as I was concerned, as close as they were. I thought Grasso was visibly better in most of those rounds. Particularly impressed with her framing. I think a lot of times we see people against the cage that are getting held that try to fight for underhooks and overhooks, try to change their positions. But if you watch the way that Grasso was protecting herself from the takedowns, it wasn't all underhook. A lot of it was framing against Araujo's face and really making it uncomfortable for her to continue to plow forward. She was doing it consistently, and she was doing really well, moving off of the cage when she needed to, returning when she needed to. She was also landing knees while she was framing, basically making Araujo pay every time she came in for a takedown. And those are the things you need to do, especially against somebody who wants to implement that in their game. I think the reason that Araujo didn't get her down as much as she did is because Grasso knew what she needed to do. She made visible improvements and made specific changes to the way she fights normally, and implemented that now into her game. I was worried that when she got taken down to the ground, she wouldn't be able to get back up. She proved me wrong, which I was happy to see. She was definitely on the ground for maybe about a minute and a half, something like that, but she definitely was able to pop back up, use the butterfly guard, and was able to get back to her feet and continue to do what she needed to do. I thought she did a fantastic job. I thought Araujo was a step behind in almost every interaction that they had. I thought it was a fantastic night for Grasso. I thought it was a very technical fight. I enjoyed the hell out of it personally, and I am excited to see what's next for Grasso.
Speaking of what's next for Grasso, Mark, if you think she's not quite at the title shot next, if you were the matchmaker, who would you pit her against as her next opponent?
So I thought until today that there was a super logical answer to this question. I figured once Grasso didn't necessarily blow the doors off with that performance that it probably would be Manon Fior getting the title shot against Shevchenko if she can win on Saturday, and maybe even Chookagian if it's her that gets the win. So I thought, okay, it's going to be Alexa Grasso, Lauren Murphy. It makes perfect sense. They're right at the top. Murphy just beat Tate. She deserves a big fight. But today, news just broke that Jessica Andrade is coming back up to 125 after one fight down at 115, and she is going to fight Lauren Murphy. So with that being said, I don't really know what you do with Grasso. I mean, maybe if Chookagian beats Fior and it's not, super impressive, maybe it is going to be Grasso that gets this title shot here since Chookagian has already had one. Maybe they'll say, let's go with the fresh face. I guess that's possible, but I don't think it's what happens. So I feel like everyone else is kind of below her and doesn't make sense for her to be fighting right now. So maybe it just has to be the loser of this Fior Chookagian fight. I don't know. I don't think there's a perfect answer.
Omar, do you have any other thoughts?
No, that was my guess, would be the loser of the Chookagian Fior fight. I mean, just like Mark was saying, just based on the way that the structure is right now and everybody's kind of in that mix. Chookagian's lost now to Shevchenko twice, so it is difficult to put her up against it again, but Chookagian's been winning, so at some point it's going to be difficult to not give it to her. But I just think for right now, I think what makes the most sense is probably the loser.
If Fior wins against Chookagian, you wouldn't want to put Grasso against her?
If Fior wins against Chookagian, I think she's fighting Shevchenko.
Yeah, that's true.
It just, you need new blood for Shevchenko.
Yeah.
There's and Fior, to be fair, Fior's been looking like an animal. So,
yeah. Unless, say something changes about Valentina's timeline, then absolutely you can say, all right, it's Fior and Grasso for the title shot. Sure. Of course that makes sense. But Valentina's already been waiting. I think she's ready to, know who she's fighting here.
Okay.
She's ready to get that last ruby on that belt.
Either way, I mean, Grasso, she's putting herself in a good position in the upper echelon at women's flyweight. So congrats to her for being on the Anu MMA show marquee this week